Hello, welcome to News Central Studios live here in Lagos, Nigeria. The headlines for this are: President Hakainde Hichilema takes oath of office as Zambia's president. Bandits attack Nigeria's Defense Academy, kills 2 officers, abducts another. Chad's former president Hissène Habré dies of COVID-19 in Senegalese prison. Details shortly. For viewers across Africa and the rest of the world, this is News Central's Continental Prime. I'm Sulaiman. The news begins in Nigeria, where suspected bandits earlier today attacked the permanent site of the country's Defense Academy in the northwestern state of Kaduna. The attack left 2 officers dead, while another was abducted. The bandits, who came in a vehicle, were said to have passed through the security gate into the academy, disguised in military uniforms. Then they proceeded to the officers' quarters. The 2 officers killed were a major and a squadron leader, while the other officer was taken in captivity. Now, Ohai Akigwe, an intelligence analyst and Friday Sunny spokesperson for parents of Committee of Abducted Students of College of Forestry, join me now. Gentlemen, good to have you on Continental Prime. Let's begin with you, Mr. Akigwe. Well, this is an unprecedented incident in the history of Nigeria, an attack on one of the best military training universities on the continent. How does one explain this?
Hi, Suleiman. Thanks for having me on the show again. Well, it comes as another great shock to us, and when I say us, I mean the entire country. I've been receiving calls all day long, from people that are really concerned as to what this implies for our security effort. So it's very concerning, but in saying that, I'm not 100% shocked, because in conflicts, one of the key essentials there is the element of surprise. And one of the things that the bandits have going for them is that they have that element of surprise, that they're able to pick and choose targets when they wish. Now, I'm not 100% shocked, like I said, about the attack on the NDA, not because of its symbolic place in society, but what surprises me is their ability to be able to elude capture. And that just says to me that we still have a long way to go in our response capabilities.
I think Nigerians are worried, as you said, yourself inclusive. You've received calls because you're an expert in the field of security. People are asking to have a fair understanding of how this breach occurred. Did you think this was something that is insurmountable for the country to deal with?
No, it's not insurmountable. However, it is going to be a huge challenge going forward. Over the years, I've sounded a lot like a pessimist, and I've always said that to be able to act in the capacity of doing my job as an intelligence analyst, I tend to look at the worst case scenarios. Now, that area where the NDA is located is an area that I trained back in the day while I was still a cadet, and that area wasn't really developed. It was complete forest. So you'd see that it definitely provides a whole lot of cover for these bandits to be able to move around, to traverse. But it's obvious that they put in time planning this attack and springing it. But like I've said, my concern here is their ability to be able to evade capture. I'm aware that efforts are still being made to track them down and to recover those that have been taken. But still, it does give me a lot of concern going forward. It also dents, kind of some of the success that has been achieved by the security forces in the last few weeks. And this tends to frustrate the efforts of all those on the ground and even public citizens as well.
Quickly, some have argued that whenever there is such amount of, insecurity, is either the government or some very influential individuals or countries, are involved. Do you sense, any of such in what Nigeria is battling at the moment?
Well, we are in a very complex security situation. When I first got the news, and it said bandits, the names and the nomenclature has continued to change, from militants to terrorists to bandits and herdsmen and gunmen. So that just indicates that our security equation is really complex, and I've continued to emphasize that we're going to have to continue to work towards multiple solutions because we have a very complex situation. And we're caught up as well in a situation that has been developing across the region, across the Sahel. And this has been going on for many years because even while I was still in the service, I was I operated alongside several other agencies going across West Africa and trying to track, movements of some of these groups across the region. So that's how complex it is. And, I've continued to say that Nigeria itself offers a lot of opportunity to some of these guys because one, it's a large country. Two, it does have its own prosperity. So we find that, kidnapping for ransom now has become sort of lucrative. And this has also encouraged, more and more groups to continue to perpetrate these acts.
Let me bring in Mr. Sani quickly here. Mr. Sani, thanks for joining us here on the news. And we actually understand that the parents of these kidnapped students are going through a lot, and we'll continue to pray for the safe return of all the abducted students of the College of Forestry. Quickly here, that institution is a few meters away from the Defense Academy. Has this attack come to you and all the parents as a surprise?
Yeah, good evening. Thank you for having me. I want to first of all say that the student of Federal College of Forestry Mechanization has since regained their freedom. They were released since on the 5th of May this year. And by God's grace, we are the parents of the students. We are doing our best to ensure that they are properly rehabilitated. The issue on ground actually came as a shock to every one of us. When the incident of forestry took place in the month of March, everybody around were like, look at the military barrack close to the forestry, just a stone throw to the forestry. Why is it that the military didn't come to the rescue of the students at that time? And like saying that we don't know. Then it's just like a saying that goes that when you see your neighbor BS is catching fire, what you need to do is to get the water and started rubbing your own so that it will not come. To us, it's a very big shock because everybody around the Defense Academy were like thinking that maybe the presence of that academy alone should be a thing that should have given a cover. But so many things has happened recently. Before the attack on forestry, there was an attack at the airport, that is Federal Airport here in Kaduna. And on that road to airport was where the main gate of Nigerian Defense Academy is directly facing. And from airport, then you get Federal College of Forestry. And now the main academy is now affected. To us, it's a very big shock. And I think anybody that heard about this issue, the attack, will be surprised, because it's a place that soldiers are trained, deployed to several areas for security purposes.
Let me bring in, apologize, Mr. Sani, quickly, let me bring in Mr. Akigbe, because I just wanted you to establish that issue about the proximity, which you've already done. And Akigbe, again, you've heard him. We also heard what happened to the quarters of the Federal Airports Authority. It would seem as if a lot of people are saying that, knowing full well that that axis is already populated by the terrorists or the bandits, as Nigerians now call them, the military haven't, and other security agencies sort of haven't actually taken it upon themselves to provide proper security. And now it would seem as if they were caught pants down napping. Tell us, how does it sound for some people to come into such facility dressed in military fatigue and have easy access to quarters where officers were living?
Well, yeah, like I told you, my phone has been ringing off the hook more or less all day, with people asking the same question. So it's a very difficult question to answer. We definitely have to be able to work out how we're going to clear out that whole area, because, you know, considering some of the facilities, like the airport in the close vicinity, a lot more effort is going to have to go into clearing out the forest area. But like I said, it's a deep, long area that needs to be cleared, and that effort is really going to have to come quite soon, because if not, it's very likely that this is going to continue to happen again and again.
Yeah, before I go back to Sani, quickly here, just recently we have seen the Nigerian military recording tremendous gains in the fight against insurgents, and we've seen also a lot of other people coming out on their own volition to say, look, we are now repentant. What does this make in the fight against terror for the Nigerian military? Because this looks like an audacious affront to the Nigerian military.
Is that for me, Suleiman?
Yes, for you.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So it's a bit of a roller coaster. The entire security effort, because on the one hand, you know, you seem to be winning the battle one day, and then you're set back another day, and this is what's going to go on for quite some time to come, unfortunately. And you know, every time I say that, you know, it doesn't sound good, and people kind of get discouraged. But it's what we're going to have to do. We're going to have to continue to try to win as many as we can, and try to work out, you know, all of those gaps in our security architecture. And there are quite a lot of them. Let's face that. Over time, these things have developed, and we're now trying to plug the gaps in the architecture. That's going to take quite a lot of doing. And unfortunately, the situation in the region isn't helping at all. So we're finding that, you know, people are continuing to move into a whole lot of these bushes and operate from there. This is becoming like a modus operandi. So we're finding that they're taking refuge in these bushes, forests, wherever they can find them, springing attacks from those areas, and then retreating back into those areas. So in terms of the manpower it's going to require to clear out some of these areas, it's going to require quite an amount of manpower going forward, but you know, it's something we're just going to have to do. And we're also going to have to put more and more measures in place in terms of our ability to be able to respond. Like I said, I'm not too surprised about the attack in itself, because these groups have the opportunity to choose the targets that they want, but it's in their eluding the security forces that I have, you know, kind of a lot of concern going forward.
I'll come back to you, Akigbe, quickly. Let me wrap up this with Mr. Sani. We've seen what this is causing a whole lot of parents in Kaduna State. Being a parent, what do you make of these happenings? Have these students been able to go back to school?
Yeah, actually, the management of the school have been working tirelessly to see how the students will return back to school. But the challenge we have is that the location of the school, because after that particular school, that is Federal College of Forestry, you won't get any other establishment or maybe a settlement for almost about 6 to 7 kilometers away. It is all forest. So it is easy for bandits to just come in and do what they want to do and get away with it. The only closest security outfit we have would have been the NDA. The other one is one div, which is somewhere in Kao. Before you call for their intervention, the bandit would have done what they would do and got away. That is what really happened the other time. Going back to that place is what we are looking at. It won't be as easy as that. As I'm talking to you now, some of the students are supposed to graduate to join their colleagues in the next batch of the youth service are writing their exam. They are being hosted by National Water Resources Institute in Kaduna. That is where they are writing the exam because it's in the center of Mando in Afghanistan. They are writing the exam now, and the management also are thinking on how to relocate the hostel, to the main town, then provide a kind of commuter, a vehicle that will be conveying the student from the hostel down to the school. After the lecture, return them back to their hostel for the main time, pending when this security is properly beefed up around that area. But for now, with the situation on ground now, I think the issue of going, because now if bandits can enter a military environment at night and go away with an officer, kill other two, then it means in the college, there is tendency that they can even struck in the daytime. So I don't see the possibility of management reopening that school as soon as. I don't see the possibility because the environment is not secure. And apart from the school, there are nearby settlements. There is a settlement close to the school and also at the same time to the barrack. Almost every time, those people around that area always talk about bandits coming into the settlement, going away with people. Let me bring
in Mr. Akigbe so that we can close. You've heard Mr. Sani. He's raised his concerns there, and they are germane. In the future, going forward, what do we expect? What should the government be doing, this Kaduna State government? Because these students must go back to school. It would seem as if these daredevil criminals are hell-bent on ensuring that education stops in that part of Nigeria. What should the government be doing? Akigbe.
Well, like I said, we're going to definitely have to reassess our response capacity, just like my colleague on the show pointed out. In terms of the locations of help, you see that there's quite a distance from the location of one div that's located in Kao. Now, even in the NDA in itself, that's a training institution. So in terms of the manpower that they have available, it's also quite limited. So we're really going to have to take a look at how we can clear out that area. And that's going to take quite a lot of effort. And even after clearing it out, it's being able to maintain it as a safe area. So that's going to be a lot of forces that will be required. So we're going to have to do the assessment now. So where do we move the troops from? And are we able to sustain operations in that area? Because there's a growing concern there. So I think, first of all, it will be to do the assessment in terms of how this has become a high-risk area. Like he's pointed out, it's going to be very unwise to ask anybody to go back into the area to school until some measure of safety has been brought into that area, and we can continue to conduct, all the educational activities that go on there. So I would be suggesting that, that assessment is carried out, and we can see how we can guarantee the safety of all those in the area before, they can go back to school.
Ahigbe, many thanks for speaking with us. And Friday Sani, a pleasure speaking with us here on the news.
Thank you.
Well, we'll move on to Southern Africa from Nigeria, where Hakainde Hichilema has taken the oath of office as Zambia's 7th president after a victory hailed as a rare triumph over authoritarianism and a milestone in African democracy. Now, Hichilema defeated the incumbent Edgar Lungu by almost 1 million votes on a 6th bid for presidency. The landslide victory is attributed to economic hardship and restricted freedoms under the previous regime. Voter turnout on August 12 was nearly 71%, and many Zambians queued late into the night to cast their ballots. Earlier, Hichilema posted a prayer on Facebook asking for humility, wisdom, and knowledge.
I, Hakainde Hichilema, having been constitutionally elected to the office of the President of the Republic of Zambia, do swear that I will faithfully and diligently discharge my duties and perform the functions in this
history in the making there. Nigeria's one-time president Olusegun Obasanjo was also at that inauguration. Well, he gave a speech where he commended the resilience of Zambians and described Hichilema's victory and Lungu's concession as a victory for the country, Southern Africa, and the world.
And we are here to felicitate with you as leaders of this great country for the example you have shown to the rest of Africa and indeed the rest of the world that good things can come out of Africa by giving the people of this country, the people of this region, and the people of Africa that it can be done to have smooth transition of leadership from one regime to another and from one political party to another. You have done this for all the people of Zambia, but you have also done it for all of us in Africa, and we are proud of you. We are all proud of the people of Zambia, and as you have said, Mr. President, this victory is for the people of Zambia, and we share and felicitate and feel proud that Zambia has started to give the right narrative, the right story about Africa.
Former Nigeria's President Olusegun Obasanjo. Joining me now for more on the new dawn in Zambia is Kennedy Limwaya. He's a political analyst connecting us live from Zambia. Good to see you, Kennedy, and congratulations. It's a new dawn in your country. How optimistic should every Zambian be? Well, apologies, we just couldn't get connected to Kennedy. We'll hope to do that subsequently. Quickly, also in Southern Africa, the inauguration of Mozambique's former finance minister Manuel Chang has been handed over to Interpol to be extradited home instead of the United States. The South Africa's Justice Department confirmed the move, leading to diplomatic tension and a last-minute attempt to stop him from being sent to Mozambique. Mr. Chang is accused of fraud and corruption after allegedly receiving bribes to sign off on international loans of $2 billion intended to buy fishing trawlers and military patrol boats. But much of it was reportedly diverted to government officials. He denies any wrongdoing. In East Africa, where the UN High Commissioner for Refugees, Filippo Grandi, has called for peace in Ethiopia through negotiation and political talks to end the fighting that began in November of 2020. Mr. Grandi's made the call during a visit to Rukuba camp in eastern Sudan, where Ethiopian refugees who have fled violence in the Tigray region have been hosted. The UNHCR boss visited together with the Norwegian Minister of International Development, Dagen Ostein.
Fragile as in any humanitarian situation, but they have improved. We've seen education services, food distributions, healthcare, and other facilities that are offered to the refugees. In the other camp, Tunetba, which is quite far from here, conditions are a bit more precarious. We're now looking for other locations, but we need to make sure that wherever we put an overflow of more refugees is sustainable from all points of view. There is no military solution to this problem. The solution has to be negotiated politically, diplomatically, and that's the only way to restore peace and to create the conditions based on which the thousands of people hosted here in Sudan will be able to go back in safety, in dignity, and voluntarily.
So be here together with the UN organizations and see how UNHCR are working and really doing a tremendous job setting up this in such a short time. At the same time, building trust with the local communities is really important. So as a strong partner with UNHCR, and Norway will strengthen that partnership also when we see that the humanitarian crises are just increasing.
In Central Africa, the former president of Chad, Hissène Habré, who was serving a life term in Senegal for war crimes and crimes against humanity, has died at the age of 79. Senegalese Justice Minister Malick Sall announced his death on Tuesday. The Chadian consulate said Habré died of COVID-19. Habré, who ruled Chad from 1982 to 1990, was convicted of war crimes and crimes against humanity at an African Union-backed trial in the Senegalese capital Dakar in 2016. His rule was marked by brutal crackdowns on dissent, including alleged torture and executions of opponents. Now, a study by the human rights group Amnesty International says militant groups in West Africa's Sahel region have been using illegal weapons manufactured in Europe, particularly Serbia. The study published on Tuesday says the illegal weapons are also used by pro-government militias in the region, such as Danna and Basagu in Mali and the VDP in Burkina Faso. Amnesty International says that this study was based on an analysis of more than 400 photos and videos spread by the Sahelian branch of the Islamic group and by Al-Qaeda affiliate Jamaat Nasr al-Islam wal-Muslimin. It has called for better use and monitoring of these weapons. Coming up, Algeria severe ties with Morocco. It accuses its North African neighbor of hostile acts. Details of this and more when the news returns. Stay with us. Well, Well, if you just joined us, you're welcome. You're watching Continental Prime here on News Central Television, coming to you live from Nigeria's economic capital, Lagos. We continue from North Africa, where Algeria has severed all ties with Morocco, accusing its North African neighbors of hostile acts. Algeria's Foreign Minister Ramtane Lamara announced in a press conference where he accused the Moroccan kingdom of sustained hostile actions. The move comes a week after Algeria accused Morocco of complicity in starting recent forest fires that ravaged coastal regions. Algeria has also been upset by recent accusations that Morocco used Israeli technology to spy on journalists and political leaders, including high-ranking Algerian political and military officials. Morocco has denied the allegations. In West Africa, Guinea-Bissau's President Umaru Sissoco Embalou has said the country's former army chief would not be handed over to the United States, where he is wanted for alleged drug trafficking offenses. President Embalou's comments come a week after U.S. authorities announced a $5 million bounty for information leading to the arrest of Antonio Indajai. The president said no Guinean citizen would be tried in another country. He added that the general could move around as he pleased. The government of Lagos State in southwest of Nigeria has raised concerns over international flight passengers who evaded isolation after gaining entry. Now, the state has also said that it's been able to identify only 5,998 of the returning travelers and successfully isolated 4,500 people who arrived from red-listed countries, while 1,094 who absconded remain unaccounted for.
Beginning to appear as a deliberate plan to make Nigeria a potential hotspot for the COVID-19 disease in Africa. Lagos State, the largest metropolitan state in Nigeria, has announced the abscondment of over 1,000 returning travelers from red-listed countries such as India, South Africa, Brazil, and Turkey from isolation. The state governor, Babajide Sanwo-Olu, who raised the alarm while giving an update on the COVID-19 pandemic, revealed that a total of 1,073 inbound passengers out of 88,847 who arrived in Lagos via the Murtala Mohammed International Airport between May 8 and August 21 have tested positive.
Persons that are coming from the red zone countries, which is still India, South Africa, Brazil, and Turkey, are expected to have the mandatory isolation. Mandatory isolation meaning that you have to go to an identified, hotel, and and you need to isolate, for the first 7 days. Sadly, about 1,000 people have also absconded, for one reason or the other, and so the COVID-19 protocols on mandatory isolation put in place by the PTF. We're encouraging Nigerians to please still present themselves, for this mandatory isolation.
This has led the Lagos State government to acquire the MGI DMBS EQ G400 sequencing machine, a complete workstation for sequencing COVID variants and other pathogens.
So where we are right now is the sequencing suite of the Lagos State Biobank. It's a new development, an addition to the armamentarium of the Lagos State Biobank. It was requested and ordered by the incident commander, the governor of Lagos State, Mr. Babajide Sanwo-Olu, who recognized the importance of us being ahead of the game, understanding how the COVID-19 virus is changing, how it's mutating in the community, how imported cases, how we're able to identify different variants as they get imported into the country. Because the economy is open, the flights are coming in, the plan is to keep the Lagos State economy open.
It is important to make clear that Nigerians who disregard COVID-19 protocols and travelers who abscond from isolation are directly putting the rest of the country at risk of an unending wave of the pandemic.
Nigeria's federal government says it is set to start administering second doses of the Oxford AstraZeneca vaccine to those eligible to receive it. The country's primary healthcare agency told journalists that it has already deployed the Moderna vaccines to 29 states who have administered first doses of the vaccine. The agency also says it has mapped out hard-to-reach areas for targeted vaccination of the Johnson & Johnson vaccine, which is a one-shot jab. The government of Liberia has received a new shipment of 96,000 doses of the AstraZeneca COVID-19 vaccine donated by France through the COVAX facility in collaboration with the European Union. At the handover ceremony, acting head of mission at the French embassy, Hughes Nagy, congratulated the Liberian government and all the COVAX fight against the pandemic. Now, receiving the vaccine on behalf of the government of Liberia, Assistant Minister for International Cooperation and Economic Affairs, Shadrick Johnson, thanked the French government for the donation and the COVAX facility for ensuring that vaccines are delivered to Liberia. Still ahead on the news, Taliban orders working women to stay at home until proper systems are in place. More on this when we return. Join us again. Now, working women in Afghanistan must stay at home until proper systems are in place to ensure their safety. This is according to Taliban spokesman Zabiullah Mujahid. The Taliban, which enforced a strict version of Islamic law when they ran Afghanistan before 2001, retook complete control of the country 9 days ago. Meanwhile, the United Nations has highlighted credible reports of abuses by the Taliban, including executions and restrictions on women. On Tuesday, UN Human Rights High Commissioner Michelle Bachelet said that women's rights were a fundamental red line and urged UN members to create a dedicated body to monitor human rights in Afghanistan.
Red line will be the Taliban's treatment of women and girls and respect for their rights to liberty, freedom of movement, education, self-expression and employment, guided by international human rights norms. In particular, ensuring access to quality secondary education for girls will be an essential indicator of commitment to human rights. I urge this Council to take bold and vigorous action, commensurate with the gravity of this crisis, by establishing a dedicated mechanism to closely monitor the evolving human rights situation in Afghanistan, including in particular the Taliban's implementation of its promises with a focus on prevention.
On Tuesday, South Africa's National Treasury said that economic damage from riots last month could shave off between 0.7 and 0.9 of a percentage point from this year's economic growth. In a presentation to a parliamentary committee, the Treasury expressed concern about the potential scarring effect on employment and sentiment that may outlive the shock and impact potential growth. Now, the July unrest started as sporadic protest over the jailing of former President Jacob Zuma. In the meantime, the country's unemployment rate has hit a new record high of 34.4% in the second quarter of 2021 from 32.6% in the first quarter. Statistics South Africa said the number of unemployed totaled 7.826 million people in the 3 months to the end of June, compared with 7.242 million people in the previous 3 months. The rate was the highest since the quarterly labor force survey began in 2008. For the rest of the business news, over now to Tululope.
Welcome to Business on NC Continental Prime. The Secretary General of the Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries, Mohamed Barkindo, says the Republic of Congo will succeed Angola in OPEC's rotating presidency in 2022. This was disclosed after an exchange with the Congolese Prime Minister Anatole Colonet on the sidelines of his 3-day working visit to the country's capital, Brazzaville. OPEC, an intergovernmental organization of 13 nations, has over the past decade sought stability in the oil market while enhancing its dialogue and cooperation with consumers and non-OPEC producers. The Republic of the Congo is the third largest oil producer in sub-Saharan Africa after Nigeria and Angola. It has an estimated production of 336,000 barrels of crude oil per day. Egypt's planning minister Hala Said says the total investments in the petroleum sector of the 2021-2022 financial year are expected to reach 65.3 billion Egyptian pounds, including 16.6 billion Egyptian pounds for refining activities. She said the petroleum sector is one of the main factors of economic growth. The ministry's report focused on securing the country's need for petroleum products to realize sustainable development and magnify the petroleum sector's contribution to GDP in order to turn Egypt into an energy trading hub. The report tackled the strategic goals of this sector, especially the needs of local markets, highlighting the development of refining industries. Kenya is seeking to negotiate and conclude a trade arrangement with the USA. Kenya's Industrialization and Trade Cabinet Secretary, Betty Maina, said representatives have agreed to deepen trade engagement to promote the interests of the two countries. Maina has held virtual consultations with U.S. Trade Representative Catherine Tai. According to her, Ambassador Tai observed that the U.S. is interested in an approach to trade policy that fits in the overall Biden-Harris administration's Build Back Better and work-centric trade policy. She expressed Kenya's desire to conclude a trade arrangement that gives confidence to investors while safeguarding the country's commitments under its regional, continental, and multilateral trade agreements. This comes a few weeks after Kenya and the United Kingdom agreed to use blockchain technology to free up trade logistics. South Africa's tourism industry continued making gains in June from last year's COVID-19-induced lockdown effects, but the momentum of the recovery slightly slowed due to restrictions. Data from Statistics SA shows that income for tourist accommodation increased by 1,012.4% in June. This was a significant rise compared with the same month a year ago when the country was on complete lockdown, level 5, enabling low statistical base effects to boost the June reading. In June, all accommodation types recorded large positive year-on-year growth in income from accommodation. The largest increases were reported by caravan parks and camping sites, as well as guest houses and guest farms. President Adama Barrow has informed Gambians that an agreement has been reached with a contractor on the construction of roads. The country is awaiting Saudi Arabia's no objection to the start of the construction of roads that would be funded by the Organization of Islamic Countries, or OIC. President Barrow was speaking while touring 6 proposed construction sites. The president expressed optimism that the roads will be constructed before the organization's summit in 2022. And that's business for you right here on NC Continental Prime. I'm Tolulokwe Adilaru Balogun.